It took Charles Darwin more than 20 years to put together his theory of evolution by natural selection, starting at 1831 until 1859 when he published The Origin. Welcome to a journey through time, biology, and the quiet brilliance of life's unfolding story. Tonight, as you drift off to sleep, let your mind wander through 50 concepts that shaped the living world, from ancient mutations to survival strategies, from natural selection to the beauty of adaptation. Natural selection. There is a common but subtle mistake people often make when thinking about natural selection. Survival from an evolutionary perspective isn't really about being smarter, faster, or stronger. It's all about living long enough to reproduce. In many cases, being stronger, smarter, or faster may help you reproduce, but those abilities are just a means to an end. Cockroaches aren't particularly fast, strong, or smart, but good luck getting rid of them. This is specifically in contrast to human selection. That's where we take some species and control their reproduction to promote or suppress threats that we care about. Big fat chickens, cows that produce a lot of milk, disease-resistant crops. Adaptation. Here is a simple analogy that I love to use when explaining this concept. It's by comparison evolution and adaptation. Evolution and adaptation are not quite the same. Evolution is a specific biological process that happens over many generations. Adaptation is a more general term. For example, you could say, I have adapted to my new work schedule, but you can't say I have evolved to my new work schedule. Mutation. Imagine your body is built for instructions, like Lego instructions. These instructions are written in your DNA, which is like a recipe book for making you. A mutation is when one tiny letter in the recipe changes by accident. Like if I said add one eye, but it got changed to add 2 eyes. Most of the time the change doesn't matter, or it might even help you, but sometimes it can make things a little different or not work quite right. So, a mutation is just a tiny change in the instructions that make you you. Generic variation. Imagine you and your friends are all made from the same box of crayons, but each of you is colored in a different way. Some people have curly hair, some have straight hair, some are tall, some are short. That's because everyone has a different mix of instructions, called genes, inside them. These little differences are called generic variation, and they make each person, an animal or plant, special in their own way. Biological fitness. Biological fitness means how good an animal or plant is at staying alive and having babies. It's not about muscle or running fast like in a gym class. In nature, fitness means, can you survive in your environment? Can you have babies that also grow up and have babies? So, if a bunny is really good at hiding from foxes and finds a lot of food, it might have more baby bunnies. That means it has high fitness. Survival of the fittest. The phrase survival of the fittest is often incorrectly attributed to Darwin. In fact, it was coined by the philosopher Herbert Spencer in response to reading Origin of Species 5 years after the first edition was published, which suggests that organisms best adjusted to their environment are the most successful in surviving and reproducing. Selective pressure. This one really highlights in a very clear terms how evolution works. Selective pressure is anything in nature that makes it harder or easier for living things to survive. Imagine you are playing a game when you have to cross a river full of stepping stones. If the wind is strong or some stones are slippery, Only the best jumpers will make it across. That wind and those slippery stones are like selective pressures. They pressure living things to be better at surviving. In nature, things like cold weather, hungry predators, or not enough food are selective pressures. They help decide which animals or plants survive and have babies. Speciation. Speciation is how a new kind of plants or animal species is created. Speciation occurs when a group within a species separates from other members of its species and develops its own unique characteristic. The demands of a different environment or the characteristic of the members of the new group will differentiate the new species from their ancestors. Gene flow. Gene flow is when living things from different groups share their genes, like mixing colors. Imagine two groups of butterflies. One group is mostly blue, the other mostly yellow. If some blue butterflies fly over and have babies with the yellow ones, their baby butterfly might be greenish. That mixing of gene is called gene flow. It helps keep population healthy and adds new traits, like sharing crayons to make new pictures. Genetic drift. Genetic drift is like random luck changing which traits get passed on. Not because they are better, just by chance. Imagine you have a jar of red and blue jelly beans, representing genes. You shake the jar and only a few jelly beans fall out to make the next batch. Maybe, just by chance, more red ones fall out. Over time, you might end up with only red. Not because red is better, but just by luck. That's genetic drift, when traits change in a group just because of random events. Founder effect. Imagine a few animals get lost and start a new family somewhere far away, because there were only a few of them. All their babies look a lot like them. That's the founder effect, when a small group starts a new group, and things look a little different. Bottleneck effect. Pretend you have a big jar of colored marbles, but it spills and only a few marbles are saved. Now your new jar has fewer colors. That's the bottleneck effect, when something big happens and only a few animals or plants survive to start over. Allele frequency. Alleles are like tiny instructions in your body. Allele frequency just means how many of one kind of instruction is in a group, like how many people have brown eyes versus blue. Phenotype. Phenotype is what you see, like your eye color, your hair, how tall you are. It's what your body looks like on the outside. Genotype. Genotype is the recipe inside your body. It tells your body how to grow and what to look like, even if you can't see it. Heritability. Heritability means the things you get from your parents, like your mom's nose or your dad's laugh. Some things you are born with because they passed it to you. Descent with modification. That's a fancy way to say when babies grow up and have babies, little changes happen over a long time. Those little changes add up, and that's how animals slowly change. Common ancestry. It means if you go back far enough, all living things had the same great-great-great-grandparents. Even you and the fish share one if you go way back. Vestigial structures. That's a part of your body that used to be useful but isn't needed now. Like how humans have a tiny tailbone, even though we don't have tails anymore. Homologous structures. Different animals like bats, whale, and people have arms that look different on the outside, but inside the bones are kind of the same. That's because they all came from the same ancient animals a long time ago. Analogous structures. These are body parts that look alike or do the same job, but they didn't came from the same family, like a bird's wing and a butterfly wing. Both fly, but they are built totally different. Speciation. Speciation is when one kind of animal slowly becomes two different kinds, like if one group of birds moves to a new place, and over time they change so much they can't have babies with the old group anymore. Reproductive isolation. This happens when two groups of animals can't have baby together anymore. Maybe they live too far apart or they sing different songs, so they stop mixing. Sexual selection. This is when animals pick who to mate with based on something fancy, like bright feathers or a cool dance. It's like choosing a dance partner because they look fun. Artificial selection. This is when humans chose what animals or plants they want to have babies, like how we made fluffy dogs or yummy strawberries by picking our favorites. Adaptation. An adaptation is something that helps an animal live better in its home, like a polar bear's white fur to hide in the snow. Cladograme. A cladograme is like a family tree for animals, showing who is related and where they branched off, kind of like a map of cousins. Evolutionary tree. Same idea as a cladogram. It's a picture that shows how all living things are connected through long history. Fossil record. These are old bones and footprints in the ground that show what animals looked like a long time ago, like nature's scrapbook. Transitional fossils. These are fossils that show the in-between steps, like a fish with little legs. They help us see how when animals slowly became another. Extinction. Extinction means all of one kind of animal is gone forever, like dinosaurs. They don't live anymore. Survival of the fittest. This means the animals that are best at living in their home are the ones who survive and have babies. Differential reproduction. Some animals have more babies than others because they are better at staying alive or finding mates. That changes who shows up in the next generation. Microevolution. This is a tiny changes in animals or plants that happen over a short time, like bugs becoming a little harder to squish. Macroevolution. This is a big changes over a really long time, like tiny dinos turning into birds. Coevolution. This is when two living things change together, like flowers and bees, helping each other over time. Convergent evolution. This is when animals from different families end up looking kind of the same because they live in similar places, like dolphins and sharks both having fins. Divergent evolution. This is when one animal family splits into different kinds that start to look very different, like wolves turning into dogs. Genetic variation. It means not everyone is exactly the same. Even in a family, brother and sisters look different. That's good because it helps groups stay strong. Mutation. A mutation is a tiny change in the DNA instructions. Sometimes it does nothing, sometimes it helps, and sometimes it causes a problem. Selective pressure. This is something that makes it hard for some animals to survive, like cold weather, hungry predators, or no food. It pushes animals to change. Natural selection. This is when nature helps the animals best suited to the environment survive and have babies. Nature picking its favorite traits. Gene flow. Gene flow is when animals from one group move to another and have babies, like mixing colors from two different boxes of crayons. Generic drift. This is when traits change just by luck, not because they are better, like picking jelly beans out of a jar and getting mostly red ones by accident. Biological fitness. Biological fitness doesn't mean being strong. It means being good at staying alive and having babies that grow up and have more babies. Embryology. This is the study of baby animals before they are born. Lots of animals look the same when they are tiny. Even fish, birds, and people. DNA comparison. Scientists look at DNA, which is the recipe for your body, to see how closely related animals are, like comparing books with the lots of the same pages. Behavioral isolation. This is when two animals could have babies, but they don't, because they act too differently, like one bird singing at night and one during the day.